altered. First of all, we should, just like the sons of Issachar in Chronicles, we should understand the times and know what to do. I know we're all busy, but just getting a bookmark on the Washington Post website and reading the major headlines each morning will totally radically alter your perspective. Just reading the news. Trust me, I started doing that when I was 14. I've never been the same since. Also, you can get a variety of free email updates from the American Family Association, the Family Research Council, Northeast Ohio Value Voters. I'm even thankful to receive some information from Pastor Booker every now and again. But the bottom line is, none of us should be ignorant of the times that are around us. Second, we should use our knowledge to pray for and influence our current leaders. In 2005, some anti-homeschooling legislation was introduced into the Ohio legislature. After praying about it, I and some others went to the State House to testify before the Ohio Senate Committee on Education. And you know what? They listened. The legislation was amended, at least for the time being. I was 15 at the time. 15. And God was able to use just a few willing vessels. Finally, and third, we should work to ensure that we elect good leaders in the first place. And the prerequisite to that is voting. If all the Christians in this country would vote, we would have such a different nation if they would vote their values. I know come election day, I can guarantee you that every good reason for you to stay home will come about. There will be something that will come up. But it's really important that we don't abdicate this God-given right. In 2007, just last year, Pastor Booker led a group of youth from this church to join with other young people in passing out literature, knocking on doors, and phone banking for good leaders in the Kentucky election. And we won the county that we are working in, which is a county that was expected to be in the other camp. In 2004, I and other local teens would often spend a few hours a week phone banking before the election. We'd bring voter registration cards to our respective churches. And the weekend before the election, we got out there and we waved signs on the street corners. What if youth groups in this country and in this church and other churches, instead of going bowling or seeing the latest movie that's out there for the third and fourth time, what if they were to spend a night a month leading up to the election volunteering for pro-family candidates? Perhaps this nation would be just a little different. And you know, even when we don't win the election, there are still plenty of benefits. We learn the inner workings of our government by volunteering. We get to speak to literally thousands of voters and sometimes politicians as well. And I'll tell you, the fear of going up to a total stranger and handing them a pamphlet is completely gone after a couple of good days of campaigning. Fear of man out the window. In the last Virginia gubernatorial election, there was something more, though, besides just those benefits. The president came out to speak on behalf of some of our candidates, and 15 or so of us Ohioans were assigned to work with a few GOP staffers to park the over 20,000 cars that came out that night. Just as the last bus was leaving to take us to our promised seats in the front row, I mean, we were promised we were going to be right here with the rope, the president right there, you know. The Secret Service closed the doors. No one gets in, no one gets out. The GOP staffers left in the parking lot, I can tell you, were not pleased, and they made this known in no uncertain, colorful terms. But instead of getting upset, and you know, honestly, we were disappointed too. Us Ohioans got together and we prayed over the election. Just let the light of Christ that was in us shine on. I'll tell you, the next morning, our group leaders informed us just how floored the unsaved staffers were by our example. God shined on. No work done out of a heart for Him and for His glory is ever in vain. I wish to conclude with the story of Nehemiah. He was instructed by God to rebuild Jerusalem. This was his ministry, his calling. But as he led the reconstruction, enemies of Israel came in to attack and destroy their progress. The Lord has a solution, though, as we read in Nehemiah 4:17 through 18 and 23. Those who carried the materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other, and each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked. Neither I, nor my brothers, nor my men, nor the guards with me took off our war clothes. Each had his weapon, even when he went for water. I believe this story is analogous to the political fight today. Each of us in America has our calling from God. Each has the ministry, the proverbial Jerusalem that he or she is to be building. But the enemy wants to stop the work, and he will use anything and everything, including the government, to inhibit the tasks that God gives us. Therefore, I believe we must always be ever ready, always ever vigilant to the political realm, building God's church with one hand and carrying a spear in the other. Among Christians in America, there should be none absent from this watch. No one should be ill-informed of the times. No one should ever put down their sword for any reason. No one should ever drop their God-given right to vote. If we do, we will deserve whatever government we get. And though this looming election fight will be hard, and though the enemy will seek to attack us from every side, we should be dauntlessly bold in this coming struggle. We should be fearless in the coming battle. For as we read in Nehemiah, do not be afraid. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us. Thank you, and God bless.